Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One-to-One podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kallunki, and I'm the founder of Zing Business Systems and Zing AI. This is a podcast about the journeys of our BNI chapter members, Utah Summit chapter, and today I'm excited to introduce our guest, Fred Heath from Utah Avenue Insurance. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
I'm looking forward to this. We've talked about doing it for a few times. And now is the time. So let's get the ice broken. I know you started in a long career in the banking industry. I remember you saying something about banking and I fell asleep. Would you mind refreshing us as to where you started and what got you insurance service?
Yeah, I was a long-time financial service employee, 20 years with Wells Fargo Bank, dating back to being a teller in college. I had a degree in communications, took a sales job with Wells Fargo that led to roles on the retail side of things for about 16 years. The last 4
branch
years,
manager or
branch, yeah, everything inside of a branch, different size branches, from grocery store branches.
So were you there prior to Berkshire Hathaway?
Okay, so the Berkshire Hathaway merger thing, that didn't really affect Utah much. But yeah, I was prior. I was with Wells Fargo when there was only, actually, the first paychecks were with First Interest. Wells Fargo had a hostile takeover with them. And it was always on the acquiring side after that. And until I left Wells Fargo in 2016.
Were you always here in Utah or did you bounce?
Yeah. Before... So what happened, Wells Fargo really had a small presence in Utah in the 90s. And then in early 2001, to be specific, when First Security Bank and Zions merger fell apart, Wells Fargo and First Security. And that's when Wells Fargo's presence became large in Utah. Prior to was 2001 and 2000, a company called Norwest bought Wells Fargo. A big mortgage presence that kept the Wells Fargo name from a branding perspective. That's just how those, I wasn't a player in any of that.
Now I'm changing hats and around.
But I grew with Wells Fargo. And then in 2012, I joined what they call their business banking group and was a relationship manager. Basically had a book of clients that I tried to grow bank products for business owners.
You were a bookie.
And commercial lending and various suites of products. But then just the way things materialized in that role, I joined Enter in the fall of 2016, and they were a small outfit in Utah. They're still around, quartered out of Washington. I think they were looking to acquire, but they ended up selling their Utah offices to American Port, which is now Altabank. My final stint in the financial services world that was the first time I was alone on the acquired side. And I wasn't really happy with how I landed. My pay was good. I was just frankly bored. And so I joined what was called at the time the Utah CDC, which does not stand for Center for Disease Control. That's a certified development company that specializes in the SBA 504 loan program. I was with them. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. And at the height of it, I'm a tennis player, and I had a couple of friends in the health insurance business. As I picked their brains a little bit in the summer of 2020, and consulting with my wife, I made the dive from becoming a W-2 guy to a 1099 guy, and very fortunate to find one of my tennis playing friends, Spencer Ellis, who was an agent at Utah Avenue. That's how I got introduced to Utah Avenue, and I think 7 or 8 agents that are part of this.
You guys don't have summer barbecues.
Yeah, we get together. It's
7, 8, can't remember.
The agents, and then there's a front end staff and all that.
Yeah. And sometimes you forget who's who.
No, not really. Yeah, it's a fun team. It feels good.
Give me an overview of what Utah Avenue Insurances from a full spectrum and primarily what you focus on.
Yeah. So Utah Avenue started our owner, Colin Logue, and his wife, Shasan. They had what was their business? It was a mortgage business. And in 2008, we know what happened and he ended up selling his mortgage business and got into the Medicare space, focusing only on Medicare. Over 65 typical products or people qualify through disability. And Colin is a Medicare expert. And so that's how he grew this. That's how he started his agency. He got to a point where his wife, I want my husband back. He started being very successful and started hiring his first agent in 2016, I believe it was, and has organically grown it since then. Utah Avenue Insurance is part of a bigger agency called Compass Insurance Advisors, of which Colin is the Medicare line of business chair. Being involved with Compass is fantastic. They are involved with the Affordable Care Act. So I learned from them, and those are my two biggest pieces of business. Marketplace Affordable Care Act plans and over 65 are people who qualify.
Fortunate to be in a state that's opened up Affordable Care Act to some of the lower income qualifications than others.
Yeah, it's great to be a part of it and feels good to.
Would you say 90%, 100% of what you do is here in Utah? How does that look?
I'm only licensed in Utah. I'm helping out my brother-in-law and sister because they're aging into Medicare. Colin is licensed in Nevada, and I can write policies under him there. Also, I have a client who's moving from Utah to Texas. Spencer happens to be licensed in Texas. I can write policies under them.
It's not hard to get a license. I think Nevada's a little more expensive than Texas.
Yeah, there are some nuances, however. The exchange and how they do it in different states can be a little bit taxing. Plus, what I like to focus on is the Utah market. That's what I know. And so getting to know the plans in each state isn't something that I've been too excited about. I don't really think I have a lot of runoff. There's stuff here. And there are, like you said, there are plans who are licensed in all 50 states.
That's a nice
model. And yeah, what I'm comfortable with is serving the people of Utah.
And it doesn't sound like you're suffering from turning business away. It's occasional.
Yeah, it happens on occasion, but I think there's enough to go around.
Yeah. All right. Now that we've highlighted your business and its focus, how do you get paid? Do you get paid by clients who want to have you search for insurance? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Something that I want to get across today. My time is free to my clients. I get paid by educating my clients on what can help them in health insurance, offering them a health insurance package, which includes life insurance, ancillary or supplemental plan. Right. And I get paid by the plans that they use to enroll in through those carriers. I'm a broker. I represent all the major carriers in Utah for both Medicare and the Affordable Care Act.
So they pay your salary.
I get paid from the carriers. Yeah, I get commission from Select Health, from Humana, from United Healthcare.
Okay. Makes sense. Especially if you've got an agent that you're getting those products from and you're not able to talk to them, or if you have questions, they can feel free to contact you. And it's not like you're going to send them a bill after the end of the conversation.
That's right. That's correct.
Okay. So if you had to describe your approach to business and helping customers with their life or with their health insurance needs, how would you describe that? What's your approach?
Let's take Medicare for instance. This is kind of part of our business model. I have people who are on the Affordable Care Act that eventually will age in. And if they're already on the Affordable Care Act or the marketplace, and that's insurance, once they hit 60, they can have Affordable Care Act anymore. So they age into Medicare, and that's the next step. I basically do two of the three main government health insurance products. The third being Medicaid, which is got the Department of Workforce Services. But when someone ages in to Medicare, I'm very proactive in the year when they turn 60. Automated email that they go out, they turn 64, and I all respond to, okay, let's just have a Medicare 101 meeting. So you know what to expect, because there's commercials like crazy on the TV, on the radio, line, whatever
Phone
it is.
calls.
Phone mailing. It's everywhere.
That birthday's not a secret.
Yeah, when I turned 50 years ago, I started getting ARP stuff, right? And yeah, it's a competitive space, right? And that first initial meeting is Medicare 101, where I talk about what they have to do as far as applying for his original Medicare and take them through a timeline. Okay, so you need a Medicare plan if their birthday in October to start October 1st. Let's get these things in place. And then plenty of time, and that it's as possible. And of course, I have friends who send me business that know what I do. And I had one a couple of years ago where a good friend of mine, his father-in-law lost his job and was Medicare. He had done his homework, but we actually had to advise him to go into the Social Security Administration, things like Part A and B, because I can't help anybody in Medicare enrollment Parts A and B. To answer your question, it wasn't very long. I would say I take an educational approach with each client.
When the ACA first came out, I don't think there were very few people that had any knowledge of it. And I remember that first year printing out all of the plans. I had them laid out on my table, trying to figure out, okay, if this is the minimum, this is what it covers. And anyway, I did that first couple of years, and then I wound up with an agent who knew it, similar to what you do.
And
he just outgrew it.
That's a great point. Healthcare.gov is where people go. That marketplace can do it themselves.
And it's a lot of work.
I take the guesswork out of it for you.
The other part of it is there's elements to the plans that are not on healthcare.gov. They are literally updated, and it may be a no copay circumstance. Plan says you got a $10 copay, but because you meet other criteria that you get a lift. Because you're
and not only that, thing that we do for all of our insurance, that I do for my clients personally, is when you get enrolled in the marketplace through me, sometimes they want to verify things like citizenship or income. Based on what they fill out with me, our compliance forms, we don't make them go back and forth with healthcare.gov. We can do that all in-house, again, for free, and take that work out of it. I remember a client calling me and saying, I wanted to change my address, and I was on the phone with the marketplace for 45 minutes. And I said, oh, don't do that again. I can do that in 5 minutes for you.
And we can spend the other 35 minutes catching up.
Exactly. Yeah. Address is very important. The plans on the Affordable Care Act are predicated on things, and those are your household size, you and your spouse, children, however that looks. Household income, where you live, so zip code is important. Plans do change from zip code to zip code. And so it's different from 2022 to 2023 is people who were on really pretty low income, a lot of $0 plans. What is considered more in the rural areas, St. George, those were, well, people maybe paid $3 or 20, and the roll version, or 24, the current. It's interesting to see that changes. And then the fourth factor is age, which is just changes the premium a little bit.
That's not the way it started, but that's the way it is now.
Correct. Yeah, man, when it started, I was still with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo even had an insurance arm, and I was pretty good friends with one of the guys that did insurance through Wells. And keep referring to the marketplace, and I've been a W2 guy whole life, and referring to the marketplace, I had no idea what he was. So I should have been more keeping probably what was happening in the news. I just referred to all this Obamacare thing.
Don't call it that now.
It's socialized medicine. And it is to an extent, but it's a great service and it's not going anywhere. There's over 22 lanes.
Also a great deal for healthcare.
It is. Right.
That's interesting. Obviously, there are other insurance agents in Utah Valley, probably in your blog. What is it that makes you distinct and sets you apart from other health insurance agents?
I have a lot of experience and I'm a new kid on the block, even though I do sound young with my voice, I think. But so experience within the health insurance market. I've got the backing of an agency that's not going anywhere, that's been around since the marketplace has been around, and the leader in healthcare services. Google Utah Avenue Insurance or health insurance in Utah. You'll find locations, one in Payson, one in here in Provo in my office. And I can do these things in person, online, over the phone. We'll come to you.
At a bowling
And so
alley,
we-
got it.
We'll do it. We'll do everything. We really tailor our services to the client, to the customer. They are our lifeblood, and we're always happy to help. Again, like we talked about, we're not just going to sign you up for a plan and leave you hanging. When there's verifications that need to be done through the marketplace, we're going to get that done. If you've missed a payment, maybe that's a little more self-serving, because if you don't make your premium, I don't get paid. We're on top of that, and we send texts and follow-up calls all the time to make sure their plan doesn't cancel and to make sure that their families care of at the end of the day. And so when I meet with a new client, I'm gonna share with them everything that I can do for them and see how that fits into their budget. I want to make it affordable for them and get them the coverage that they need. And maybe
It's just not the premium.
no, it's definitely not that. But we're gonna put together a package for you because every plan has gaps, and so we dive into that. And we're not just a one-trick pony, as they say. And Utah have the backing of the Compass Insurance Advisor team that's headquartered out of Draper. They're in all 50 states and over 500 agents strong. So it's a great partnership. A lot of support. I'm on training call every Monday on Affordable Care Act, every Tuesday for Medicare. On Wednesdays, there's different sales approaches, different supplemental policies, whether that's with Allstate, United Healthcare, and then Thursdays is life insurance and group plans for small business owners who want to offer group insurance for their company employees. So we do all of it.
It sounds like you've got a full spectrum, and it's a good thing to know. If you don't know it, you've got people who tell you.
The people who are the line of business chairs for the Affordable Care Act have been doing it since its inception. Colin's been doing Medicare for about 15 years. Life insurance, gentleman, about the line of business chair, guy by the name of Oscar May, has had an incredible career, 4-year career. And our group health insurance guy has been around for a long time. They've all been very successful. It's great to learn.
Yeah, it's easy to grow if you've got rich knowledge.
And frankly, the support's there I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I'm always learning and growing on that. And it's nice to be able to have resources.
Sounds like you're pretty content there. We've talked quite a bit about Utah Avenue and your approach to insurance. Let's talk about the man behind all of that. Let's talk about Fred. Tell me a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up? And why did you land in Utah?
Good questions. I don't know if it's super unique, but I was born and raised in a small town in California by the name of, which is about a 45-minute drive north of Santa Barbara. My parents were from Utah. My dad went to dental school in California and stayed there. And that was a nice upbringing.
The Apple Air Valley Parkway or something you have to take going to Lubbock.
Pear Blossom Highways, I think what you're referring to off of the I-15. Yeah, that's one way to go. Yeah. Kind of wind through that, or you can go down and Cucamonga and then come up through Pasadena, through LA. just depends on what the traffic looks like. Have to have your GPS going. I used to go to Pear Blossom all the time, 20 minutes off the dry on. I've made that drive plenty of times in my life.
I used to go to Santa Barbara for dive events or dive hunt with a board, lobster hunts, and scuba diving.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We should talk more of that at some point. My wife's into scuba diving when we first started dating. And I hadn't done a lot of dives, but she's certified out there on the Central Coast. And she's from that town as well. And
so you guys
we were not high
into
school sweethearts. No, I'm like 4 years older than her. But I left Lompoc to serve a 2-year LPS mission in the early 90s. And she caught
Where
my
was
eye
that?
when I got home. I served upstate New York, in New York, Rochester. So a lot of LPS church history there. And it's a great place to go. And when I got home to Utah for college and didn't look back after that, as they say. So more at Utah than at California, for sure.
That's where my father grew up, is in Los Angeles. And
Okay.
we wound up out here. I never thought I'd be a Utah, but
I do have a funny story about that. While I was in college, I think it was 1995 when the announcement was made that Salt Lake had got the Olympics for 2002. And I distinctly remember having the thought in my head, like, oh, I won't be here for that. I'll be back. I graduated. I'll be back to California.
You'll be here for part 2.
Early on in my banking career. And then, I guess they just did. It's 2034. I don't have any plans.
Honestly, that's just around the corner.
Years.
Yeah.
I still won't be quite Medicare aged, but hopefully I have your Medicare plan.
I would expect so.
Okay.
I'll certainly be qualified by then.
You're
What is it that had the opportunity to get to know Tiffany a bit and talked about some of her interests and hobbies? I understand you're a big tennis player. You've mentioned that a couple of times, but you're also a big Seinfeld fan.
Yes, I am. I love tennis. I love sports. My dad was a sport guy, and I was the youngest child. I'm their sixth child. I had 3 older brothers, and we all just lived and died by football. That's where my dad went to dental school, and San Francisco Giants baseball. Baseball was my first love. I remember my dad played tennis at the University of Utah back in the 50s. And I remember being on the side of the court. I was pretty young. I was like 8 or 9. And just thinking, this sport seems stupid or weird. I throw right-handed, but in baseball, I batted left-handed. And that's similar to a two-handed backhand. I took a racket. I was like, let me try this. I have decent eye-hand coordination, and I was hitting the ball. My dad was like, you want to try learning it? I thought, it's a good time to spend with my dad. As a young kid, I got the bug about a year later. We watched a lot of sports, and I remember watching John McEnroe and Bjorn Borg play. I was fascinated by their contrast of styles. Fell in love with it pretty quick, pretty avidly from about 9 years old to 14. Tennis can be a frustrating sport too, like anybody who golfs or anybody who plays individual sports. There was a time there where I took a break and played the other popular sports, team sports in high school. But had a really good high school experience with tennis, good friends, and had the opportunity to take a little bit of junior college before I went on the LDS mission. After the LDS mission, I was more focused on, I wasn't back there to play college, like main level division.
No division.
Certainly not at BYU where I was going to school. So it was more intramurals. And got away from it, but came back to it about 7 years ago as my son started playing and I got involved in adult recreation tennis. It's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of people and I play regularly for the last 7 years. It's something I really like. I like to be active.
How did you guys get together? And tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so Tiffany and I met. I got home from an LDS mission. I went to school, came home after that first school year. The Lompoc, stayed home and started noticing her, and we started hanging out a little bit. Yada, yada, yada. All the reference. Years later, we're married and haven't looked back since. We have 2 children, a son named Kevin, who's 18 now, and a daughter named Madeline, 16. So she's a sophomore at Skyridge High School. Tiffany is currently serving an LDS mission in Baltimore, Maryland. Graduated from Skyridge at point. And I passed down the tennis to him. Probably begrudging to him. He also played football at Skyridge and likes all sports as well. So we have a great bond that way. And yeah, so Tiffany and I met there in hometown, and she is adventurous, always has been. Went to the scuba diving when we first were dating, but she always evolves. And probably for the last 10 years or so, she's been really into engineering. She's done a lot of cool things. But even when we first started dating, I thought she would do cool things from the scuba standpoint. She's always been into fitness. She was a lifeguard at the local country club pool. She's an activist. You wouldn't think of it, but she met before the board, the country club, to remove the diving board because the pool wasn't deep enough. And so she did a bunch of probably chagrin of patrons also to protect any kind of lawsuits or anything. She's
crowding the handicap stall.
yeah, right. She's very when she's passionate about something, she goes all in, and it's been fun to see that from an eye perspective. As she just joined our chapter a few months ago, she's always reading up, and
She's always well read usually.
yeah, but she follows the rules to a T on being out. And you know what? She's been successful with it because she's put the work.
Lady who wears my wedding was a member of a BNI chapter. We've both been members here or there across the decades.
Okay.
Yeah. At one point, we were a member of two, and she was always getting more of this and more of that. Maybe I'm just more laissez-faire. Maybe she's more fair. I don't know. I certainly think that's the case in your circumstance as well.
Yes.
Not that you're laissez-faire, but she's certainly more fair.
I think we can relate to that, yes.
And if you have a particular episode of Seinfeld that you either watch or rewatch or character, what are those provide such joy even now?
Jerry, Kramer, George, Elaine as like the murderer's row sitcom characters as far as I
Improv characters almost.
Yes. 2 episodes come to mind. I thought it is, I don't think I was really into Seinfeld was prime time. I started getting the bug maybe the last 2 or 3 seasons watching when it was on Thursdays. Only because it was on station, but 6:30 I'd get home from work or get home from school and start watching it and just really like the humor.
It's straightforward. You get it.
My 2 favorite episodes is one called, I believe the name of the episode is Strike. It more commonly as Festivus episode, where George's dad makes a holiday for those who don't have, maybe don't believe in Christmas or Hanukkah, right? It's festive for the rest of us. And what's really fun about that is I still keep in touch with a core group of my banker friends. And one of our good banker friends, a guy named Darren, his birthday is on December 25th. And we always felt bad that we would we'd go to lunch a lot when guys were having birthdays. Darren's birthday, we weren't together on Christmas Day. And we started getting together for lunch before we'd go on Christmas break. And because we love, and Darren's a big Seinfeld fan, we just evolved in this, let's have a Festivus with the banker group. And there's 3 keys to Festivus. There is deep strength, there's a traditional meal, and there's the airing of grievances. A couple of our banker buddies and I, we started lifting weights together before we all went our separate ways. A few of them were still at Wells Fargo. Darren is. So our Festivus day together, we try to plan it around December 23rd as much as possible because that is the day that Frank Costanza started Festivus as the founder. And we start the day out by having a gym session, our feats of strength, where we try to outdo each other. And then we go, and they're to worship a pole, an aluminum pole, because Frank thinks tinsel is distracting. You don't have to decorate it. It's just a pole. We take somebody there. We go to Top Golf, have a traditional meal. and we do air the grievances. We talk about the problems we have with each other. And usually that correlates with who's winning the fantasy football league that we do together as well. So we have a good time with it. Life has to be near to my heart. We try to bring real life. It's a funny episode. Kramer is striking from a job that he had 20 years ago at a bagel shop. Jerry's taking it down. There's a two-face. She looks good in certain lighting. It's terrible in other. And of course, Elaine's having issues with some guy that's hitting on her. And of course, George and his dad are fast. I also like the yada yada episode just because it's succinct. You don't notice. This has been very long-winded. A dichotomy of sorts.
You have to tell it as if you're a lover, just someone paying passing attention.
That's right.
What can you tell us about client base and the communities you serve?
That I've had the last 4 years, they almost end up being like friends. I get to, they're helping out with different client events. A child is born. They got to move where
you're moving, changing jobs.
Yeah. And it runs the gamut, right? My experience. One lead that newer agents get are people who need recovery services, like addiction recovery, whether that's substance or mental. We help out with that. That's gratifying. Helping out people when they're really down and it's receive that progression. It's also not when we afford their what I would consider, talking to somebody's mom or grandma and then find out to go over overdose. That experience, unfortunately. But yeah, I do my best to help those folks. But whatever condition it is, whether they've gone through a divorce, they live out of state, but they have a child in a wheelchair, I get to know those parents. Maybe it's special needs. It really does. Life is life, right? And I find it rewarding.
What you do is core to living a quality life.
Yeah, I get pretty passionate about health because I think it's important for me.
Well, you have no choice. Tiffany would put the smack down.
She would. And she does a good job with it. But over those years of living with her, we celebrated an anniversary here soon, 28 years. And that sentiment is there many times. The thing that's been great for me is to really like my island where it's like Jordan, I think why I say yeah. And that would be my hope for any of my health insurance patients. To have a great elevator pitch for a health insurance agent is helping people get the money they need when they need it most. Insurance is there to mitigate risk. And I've shared in different BNI commercials now, a lot of GoFundMe happen because of medical expenses. You can't predict the future, but what you can do is try to educate students through a healthy lifestyle. And then when that's not enough, then that's where your health insurance plan comes in. But it's only healthy to the extent that you do so.
Yeah. You have to be involved. I want to just say thank you for spending time with us. Really enjoyed finding out that there's somebody that nerds out about health insurance, and make sure that when I come to you, you have answers and you provide those answers to all of your customers. Yeah.
And if I don't know the answer, I can be upfront about it.
Yeah. Right. I'd like you to just take a minute and the last 30, 60 seconds are yours to remind folks why they should choose Utah Avenue and Fred Heath. And
Start that out by asking a rhetorical question. Who really ended up saying up and insurance? I get that. I do. And let me take the guesswork out of it. It doesn't cost you anything. And I have a wealth of resources to help get you and to search every avenue time. Search every avenue to get you.
It's so large, call it Utah Avenue.
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm here to help any Utah resident make most out of their health insurance. Because I'm trying to take the pain away at some of the easiest conversations.
You have a very approachable presence. You're very relaxed and unassuming. It's easy to ask you questions. And I'm sure that your clients find that to be refreshing and mostly helpful and reason that they probably come back to you hereafter.
I hope so, and I tend to think so.
This has been the end of the 4th edition of Utah. It's been, thanks for joining us again. Let me do a retake. I don't think I even did a extra on my script, so I'm going to have to think about it here. Anyway, thanks again for joining us with the One-to-One podcast, where we've gotten to know Fred Heath and his business at Utah Avenue. And we appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch and listen. And do stay tuned for other members of our summit chapter of Vienna. I'm Matt Kallunki with Zing Business Systems and Zing AI. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.